So I'm going to add it to this.
Sheila come?
Yep.
Okay, Joe.
Okay. Good afternoon. I'd like to call the special meeting of the Board of Selectmen to order. It's Monday, June 23rd. It is now 5 minutes after 3. First order of business, the Pledge of Allegiance. All rise. And I'll ask Selectman Havitter to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, George. I'll entertain public forum for any item listed on the agenda for 3 minutes. Anybody wishing to address the board? See none, we'll move along. Item 2, Finance Director Sheila Villano. To receive the monthly report for the month of May. Hey, Sheila. How would you like to proceed?
We'll start with revenue as usual. I could start by saying revenue looks great. We have, let's try to talk as I get my report up. Gary always comes to the rescue. Well, I do have him. Actually, Gary, you might have to come to the rescue again. Only because I don't want to take too much of your time trying to find.
Here it is right here, I can see it.
Okay, you could take that one. We have received 99.79% of our budgeted revenue. And last year we were at 99.2, so we're well ahead of where we were last year at the end of May. Tax collections are extremely strong. We've exceeded the 100%, and we still have 2 more months to collect on taxes. And on the state side as well, we've collected 106% of our budget, and those are, we talked about this last month. There were grants that were adopted at the state level after our budget, so we collected more. And on the ECS side, it was a prior year adjustment that worked in our favor this year. Some years it works not in our favor, and we get less than, because they netted out of the ECS grant.
Yeah.
So, we still have 2 more months to collect for ambulance, youth and family, which is already over budget, and taxes. So, as far as
revenue budget, you're saying?
on the
Yes.
revenue
Yeah.
side, yes.
And what do we attribute that to?
Tax collections were very strong. I mean, we always
that-
make
I'm sorry,
adjustments.
youth and family side.
Oh,
I'm
youth and
sorry.
youth and family, they are very busy, and they are able to collect more now because of the insurance through the Affordable Care Act.
Okay.
So that's really the biggest difference, I believe, and they are at capacity as far as their clients.
Okay.
I actually saw their last month's month-end report, and they have a much higher percentage of private insurance pays than they have historically had.
Yes. So revenue looks very strong, and we actually may show a surplus at the end of the year.
Any questions on revenue? Okay.
We will show a surplus. We're at 87,000 surplus right now.
Here you go, there's your expenses.
I need a personal assistant. Thank you.
Anything you need help, Sheila?
Okay, on expenditures, we've obligated 89.7% of our budget compared to 92.3% last year. Part of that is because we've already started working with the departments to get them to cancel encumbrances they don't need, so we can get a better feel for where we're going to end the year. So we've done that. There are still 310,000 outstanding, and those are, a third of those are in Public Works, which is not unusual. We've already canceled some, but they still have, a lot of invoices still to come in between now and the end of the month.
So do you think we'll be at 100% or less, lower than that? Like expenditures, do you think we'll be lower than?
We will have a surplus.
That's what I mean, okay.
Yes. Overall, yes. I guess we could talk about that. Let's talk about the one area that we're going to need a transfer for, and that's going to be legal.
That's what I thought.
Legal only shows 10 months worth of expenditures right now because the bills come in after our reports come out, or just about the same time. We estimate probably around $50,000 shortage in legal. And we'll put in a transfer next month for that, from most likely from contingency. And it's really mainly, it's due to labor negotiations that we didn't anticipate the extent that we would have to incur legal fees for. And other than that, I think that all the other departments will be fine. I mean, sometimes at the end of the year, we have tiny little deficits that we need to do transfers for by charter, but for the most part, we should be fine. And there are a lot of areas where we will have surpluses. And right now, we're looking at some of the line items that will have a surplus and possibly reserving them. A good example is reserve for retirement sick leave. I think there's about $59,000 or $60,000 left there, and we have had the practice of reserving any leftover funds in that line item in a reserve for future payments. We will probably do that in that particular instance. And in debt service, we have $400,000 that we're going to have a surplus for, because we didn't need to use the budget to cover any debt service on the high school. We put it in because we weren't sure of our timing, but next year it's going to be a big amount, a big increase. So we may reserve some of that in the debt service reserve for next year. So we are going to see a surplus on the expenditure side, probably in the neighborhood without salaries for 400 or so, 400 to 500. And salaries are about 150,000 in surplus. The Board of Ed is also projecting, I think they said last month, approximately 200,000 or so, maybe slightly more, but so our surplus is going to be up there.
Okay.
300.
300. Okay, any comments, questions for the finance director? You want to hit insurance?
Sure. On the medical insurance, we had a month consistent with last month. I have it all here, I just can't get to it fast enough. So yeah, it was only $1,000 higher than the month before. A little more than that, but basically we're projecting a shortfall of about $500,000 for the year. Add that to our deficit fund balance that we began the year with, and we're in a deficit position of $725,000. We talked last month to, I think, your board and to the Board of Finance about putting in a deficit reduction plan. We did it in 2006, and it worked well. And I think that it's important that we do so, especially with the rating agency presentations that we're going to be doing in July or August. They like to see that we recognize we have a problem and that we document it and we create a plan. And they're okay if we deviate from it if we have to because of certain circumstances, but they just like to see a written policy and a plan. So we wanted to take some of last year's surplus and apply that toward the deficit. And then we'll have, again, that's use for some of the surplus from this year. So we really have 2 years worth. And we can probably say that we could do about 100,000 for the 3 years following 15, 16, and 17. So I think we're going to recommend that type of a plan to the Board of Finance. I don't know if your board, I don't think you have to formally adopt it, but you
No.
may want to recommend.
Yeah. Well, I think changing the stop loss will help going forward as well.
Yes.
So the one thing not under our control is because we're self-insured, is the medical cost.
Right.
But benefits of having a surplus on the operating side can offset a lot of that deficit on the medical, so that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anything else you want to bring to our attention?
Nope.
Okay. Any questions?
Sheila,
Comments, Gary?
You're gonna send us something on the
I
stop
think she
loss?
has that
I
for you.
have it, I can pass it out to
Okay.
you. Do you want me to discuss that a little bit?
Yeah.
No,
it's okay.
I just assume pass it out, maybe discuss it next month.
That's fine. I just,
I'd rather see it.
I wanted to just comment that there's a lot more to making a decision than the spreadsheet shows. It's just 5 years of, a potential comparison of premiums. But there's more to it. And one of the things that we needed to look at is the fact that there's a lot of specialty drugs now that are part of the high claims. There are 3 out of our highest 10 claims that are over $40,000 in specialty drugs. So that is something that these numbers do not necessarily show, but it's something that we have to recognize because it's something that we haven't seen until just recently. So we can certainly talk about that more after you take a look at this.
Okay,
I'll pass this out after the meeting.
all right. All right.
And then capital, I have a new set of reports for you. There's really no change in the numbers at all, but I just deleted the last column or 2 on the reports because they're really meant for the auditors. There's a fund balance column that looks a little unusual.
Not the revised one, no.
It's accurate, but it's confusing, so I took it off. The last one was still on. Oh, I may have to send you another new one.
Well, you know what, do you all have your copies, and I can get it from her? Keep it calm.
You need one back?
No.
Were the same ones in our packet or they changed?
They changed.
Oh, okay.
Except for the Fund 214, there's not a change there, but the other ones are changed. I'll send you a new 214,
Anything else?
unless you have questions for me?
No?
Okay,
I don't. Okay. All right, thank you.
all right.
Was Cliff here? Did I see him, Cliff?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in the back.
Oh, there he is, okay. Item 3, Board of Education Director of Operations / Facilities, Cliff Gernon. 3.1, consider and take possible action on award of bid 30-1314, Baldwin, Jones, Lakes, Leeds School Building entrance and main office renovations and reconfiguration with security upgrades. Good afternoon, Cliff.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Well, thanks for being here.
So we did go out to bid for our second large project for the summer. And this includes, as you mentioned, upgrades and renovations to 3 of our schools, 2 elementary, 1 middle school. We're not going to go into details because they are security upgrades. But we did have 2 bidders, 2 bidders that also bid on the prior bid that we approved recently. The bids came in a little higher than expected. That was one of the downfalls. However, we are looking at doing 3 out of the original 4 schools that we wanted to get done. Orlando Anuli and Sons was the lowest bidder, so we reevaluated their bid. We did a scope review with them. Their bid was reviewed by the Standing Building Committee, as well as with the architect, Silver Petroselli and Associates. I have met with their president and owner because we do know that they're taking on the Adams project as well if they are awarded this. So one of our concerns was whether or not they'd be able to carry 2 large projects of this nature. And they reassured us they could. They've done projects much larger than these 2 combined. We're talking in the 30s and 40s millions of dollars. So, a $4 or $5 million project for them is not that large. to handle. We also talked about the duration and the schedule, and that was not a large concern either. So it was recommended by the Standing Building Committee to move forward, awarding the 3 schools, Baldwin, Guilford Lakes, and Calvin Leet, including the alternates associated with those bids, in the total sum of $1,698,266.31.
So when would Melissa Jones be done, or then you would just,
I've already had discussion with the superintendent. We'd like to do that next summer. And our goal would be to go back out to bid for that project.
Yeah.
Hopefully, probably just after the first of the year, January, early February, to get some really competitive bids. It would also give us a very strong number to go back out to bond for that project to ensure we have sufficient funds for that.
because I mean, all the other, bids that Orlando had were lower, but that one was high, look at the specifics, but I wonder.
The reason for that, Melissa Jones is the only school that has a true structural concern where we're doing structural work. So there was more unknowns, and that's why they bid it higher. They did mention that to us.
Okay.
So they didn't have the time to come in and thoroughly investigate, so they ran the number higher.
So, okay, so that might be subject to change next year.
Correct. I think we'll have stronger bids come January next year.
So I'll move that we award bid number 30-1314 to Orlando Onuli and Sons Incorporated for $1.698,266.31.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Cliff, we have 3.2. Discuss and take possible action on a recommendation to award bid alternate number 2 for bid 29-1314 Adams Middle School, classroom renovation, windows and door replacement, and security upgrades.
So this is a follow-up on our prior meeting last week, I think it was. I did get to speak with Sheila regarding the funding available for this project, and we were able to ensure that we had sufficient funding between our 2013 bond and our 2014 bond, and I think it's our 09 bond for windows at Adams. So between those 2 bonds, we have sufficient funding to proceed with this alternate. So we'd like to include this in the award to Orlando and Onuli and Sons for the Adams project. So
What was the amount of that alternate?
the amount was for $468,000 even.
Okay.
I'll move we award bid number 29-1314 to Orlando Onuli and Sons for $468,000.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Thank you, Cliff.
Thank you.
Item 4, Board of Education Business Manager, Linda Trudell. Consider and take possible action on a technology lease for the Board of Education. Good afternoon, Linda.
Good afternoon. As you're all aware, the Board of Ed cannot enter into any kind of debt on their own, so we require authorization from the Board of Selectmen in order to do our technology lease. We're looking to do a lease of $500,000 for the purchase of technology equipment for the schools, teachers' laptops, computers for the students, some projectors, some other equipment. It's the same resolution that you've seen in the past. We have not awarded it to a vendor yet for the lease. Tonight at the Board of Education meeting, I'm presenting the 3 quotes that I have, but it looks like the lowest at this lowest rate we have is from Chase Equipment, and it's the same company we've been using over the last few years, and they have a rate of 1.61% for the $500,000 for a 5-year lease. So I need authorization from the Board of Selectmen to sign this resolution so that we can move forward with this lease.
So this be equipment across the board, all grades, all levels in terms of need, or this is not, okay.
Yeah, it's part of our technology plan to replace some of the older laptops that the students are using, provide some updated laptops to the teachers, and some of the other hardware that's in the schools for some of the servers and projectors as well. So it's across all buildings. Anything that goes into the high school is all stuff that is movable, so it's not anything installed, it's just the teachers' laptops and student books. So it'll be moved to the new school.
And you've done enough, the assumption is that these are replaceable over 5 years as opposed to purchasing them ourselves, and then replacing them when they
Well,
become obsolete?
we own them, so a lot of these that we're replacing, we find other uses for. So whereas we give a teacher a laptop for 5 to 7 years, depending on how long, and then we cycle them through, so they get used in other places. We own the equipment. It's not a lease where you give it back after 5 years.
Okay, so it's a lease purchase plan.
It's a lease purchase plan, sorry, yes.
Okay, now, just one question I had, I didn't see this in here, but this is contingent upon being funded each year through the budget.
It has a non-appropriation
It
clause.
does have
in
that,
Yes.
okay, yeah, okay.
The lease documents are reviewed by Dave Pitney, our bond counsel.
Yep.
So they review the documents, they ensure that all the legal requirements are met
Okay,
with the non-appropriation clause.
okay. So, and this is contingent upon the Board of Education approving this tonight, too?
Yes.
So we're kind of putting the cart before the horse here, a little bit.
Other years, I think you've done it, you've signed the resolution before, because technically I can't, the Board of Ed clearly can't do anything without your approval, because you have the authorization to do to allow us to do a lease.
So we simply recommend or not?
Recommend it, yeah. Okay? Think we need a motion then?
I believe you do.
I'm asking the board.
Oh.
I'll move we recommend the approval of the technology lease.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Aye. Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
That was quick. Item 5.2, discuss and take possible action to award bid 25-1314 Town Hall window replacement, subject to the recommendation from the Board of Finance in accordance with the April 9, 2013 bond resolutions. We have Mr. Portley here for that.
Good afternoon.
How you doing, Jim?
Good, how are you?
Good.
There was 3 bids on the windows for Town Hall. The lowest bidder was deemed unresponsive in that he didn't include some of the asbestos removal and the lead abatement in his bid. So the next lowest bidder was Rudolph Netsch Construction Company. They were thoroughly vetted and found to be a good firm. The Standing Building Committee approved their hiring. They're hiring as of Friday night. So it is recommended to the Board of Selectmen that the contract for the window replacement for Town Hall be awarded to Rudolph Netsch Company for the sum of $268,900.
Jim, what's the timing on this thing?
It would be done this fall. I think we had 120 days starting July 1st and being completed by October 31st.
Interestingly, this company was also on Cliff's list from school bidding, but it was a relatively unfamiliar name. Are you familiar with
I
them?
am, they,
Or
just
did
reading
they
through
used to
documents.
operate under a different name?
I don't know that. They did do the town hall in Clinton, and it turned out to be a very nice project. I was talking to people over there.
Yeah.
I don't know them, but we live in a very small world here in Guilford. But the architects did review them, they found them to be well qualified, and recommended their approval as well.
Then I will recommend that we approve bid number 251314 for the town hall windows in the amount of $268,900.
Second.
I'm sure the town hall employees will appreciate that.
Yes, they will. After what, 70 years, Jim?
Give or take a year. yeah.
Take a year, okay. There's a motion on the floor, made and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Thank you, James.
No, he's got one
You got one more?
The one before, the generator.
Oh, the generator, skip that, okay. Consider and, let's see. There we go. Replacement generator, subject to the recommendation of the Board of Finance. It was to award bid 28-1314, and again, in accordance with the April 9, 2013 bond resolution.
Again, this is a project that was bid out. The bids were received on June 10th. There were two bidders, and because of the difference in price, the low bidder was scrutinized pretty thoroughly. The contractor, Northeast Generator, their low bid was $104,000, and the next bid was
278.
278.
285.
So, just to make sure everything was on the up and up, they were, as I said, the Northeast Generator Company was thoroughly vetted, found out to be a reputable company. Standing Building Committee had worked with them before and felt that they would be somebody that they could endorse. So based on that, it is recommended the Board of Selectmen award the contract for the new generator to Northeast Generator for $104,000, whatever that money is.
890.
Jim, do you understand why the disparity? I mean, just, no.
No.
What was the budget for that? Like, what did we,
Stephen has all that. And
oh, I just didn't know how close, like, what, to make sure, well, I mean, you guys checked it, but. Because it is a huge
I
difference. You
think
know,
we
usually we
had-
see bids. and
We had
sometimes we see stuff.
$80,000 in the bond,
80, yeah.
and
Oh.
then there was
All
some
right, so
money.
the one northeast is more closely aligned with.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
They didn't want it.
Sometimes people put in a bid for
Oh,
home
just to
runs.
see, okay. Then I'll move we approve bid number 28-1314, Town Hall Generator to Northeast Generator Company at $104,890.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Now I can let you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
Item 6, Director of Human Resources, Mitch Goldblatt. That's what I saw here. Consider and take possible action on renewal of agreement with ESI for an employee assistance program. Good afternoon, Mitch.
Good afternoon. This is a contract that needs signature by the first selectman for the continuation of our employee assistance program with the ESI. It's been very successful through the last number of years. We've had continued feedback from certain employees that have used it, that have gotten back to me, but most of the time it's very confidential, so most of the time I don't hear from people, but we have had some good feedback, both from the employees that have spoken to me, as well as ESI, who says that our numbers are up, which means that we have, more awareness from our employees. The cost is the same per employee, has not gone up. It's still $21.95 per person per year. And the basis of that is based on the number of full-time employees, although they do, just to reiterate for you, they do have this service not just for employees, but for their family members, as well as all of our part-time employees. The only people that are excluded from this are police and fire personnel who have their own EAP. And so I just need action by this board to approve the contract for the first selectman to sign.
Mitch, for the benefit of the public, why don't you explain a little bit what this program is?
Sure, the Employee Assistance Program is a benefit to our employees and their families for anyone who has any issues that they want to have handled outside of work. Typically, it's personal related, could be financial, could be emotional, psychological. There's all kinds of services, plus there's all kinds of discounts the Employee Assistance Program provides for them. It's very inexpensive for us, and it's also a great benefit for anyone who's in the workforce, depending whatever pressures they have, either at work or at home, to help them out. It's a 24-hour a day phone number, as well as a website that is can be utilized 24/7 as well for assistance and for a lot of tips and things like that to help people out of difficult situations.
Thank you.
I have to say, I think this is an important program. I've heard from a couple employees, they appreciate the benefit of this program.
Any other questions or comments? If not, I'll take a motion.
I move we approve the EAP contract for another year at $2,085.25.
Second.
All of those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Mitch, 6.2, discuss and take possible action on the additional sick leave policy.
Right. I'd like to pass out for you, which is not in your packets, the exact current policy. If you just actually leave one for me, Carl. The current policy, as well as a colored mock-up of the policy as you had requested me to look at. I also had some help from Selectwoman Cartier to look at this in the last couple of weeks. Based on your comments, we've come up with some changes. This is for employees who have run out of sick time and may be suffering from a serious injury or illness, and have other employees donate their sick time to them. The major changes are as follows. It no longer will prohibit, or I should say, it will no longer only allow someone to donate time to someone they're in the same bargaining unit. We've opened it up so that any employee can then donate time to any other employee. Along with that, though, we have limited it to the, and this was the recommendation, limited to only 60 day, up to 60 days could be contributed total to a single employee per fiscal year. We've cleaned up some of the other language, and the only other thing was there was some confusing language in there about the time allotted for a fiscal year. We've opened it up so that you can use any time, whether you have it in your fiscal year or have it in your bank, to donate, but still limiting it to no more than 10 days per employee to give to another employee, and no more than 60 days could be contributed to an ill or injured employee. And so that's the major changes to the policy, which has been in effect for some time. This would be an update to the policy, both opening it up but also putting some limits on it, as well as the number of days. I think those are the directions that the board had given to myself and to Cindy, and that's what you have in front of you.
And I think just to add, Mitch, thank you, that it gives a little bit more clarity on that part, but it doesn't eliminate, from an HR or legal perspective, to look at FMLA issues and to be handled appropriately and accordingly. And, we talked to council about that, but it does give a little bit more of what the employees were concerned about in terms of leveling out the playing field, I guess is a better way, because some bargaining units have very few people and some have more, but at the same time giving more structure to the amount of time and making it a little bit more balanced in that regard.
And we would make two other quick things. We would make this effective July 1st, and this has been reviewed by Labor Attorney Dorney, who had a couple of small things to change, and those changes have been implemented.
So it doesn't hinder a group, pick one group that has only 5 employees.
It will not in the future. That's
Okay.
correct. That's July 1st, yeah, which is
that-
very close to us.
That's right. So an employee there can get up to 60 days,
Yes.
and time can be donated from any,
For any full-time employee who has sick time, yeah,
but can only receive a maximum of 60 days.
correct.
And
In any
only
fiscal
one
year.
employee, any one employee can only give a maximum of 10 days.
Correct.
Okay, that's pretty simple.
Yeah.
That's what we want.
That was the retirement,
Yeah.
yeah.
Good. Good job.
Levels the playing field.
Sorry?
Levels the playing
Yeah,
field.
that's what we wanted. Yeah. Any other comments? I'll entertain a vote.
I'll move that we approve the amended sick leave policy to take effect July 1.
Second.
Any discussion on the motion?
Can I just ask for
Gary?
clarification? On F, the Board of Selectmen will consider the request for additional sick leave and vote in its discretion whether or not to grant such paid time. So there-
That's the old F, it's now H, in the new policy. It'll be H.
Okay.
The current
The-
policy.
the new
yeah.
H.
Yeah, new H, yep.
Does that, is the 60 days the additional sick leave?
No,
Or does that
basically-
open up the possibility of another, of
No,
coming to the selectmen for additional time?
I'm sorry, Gary, actually what that does is that's in the current policy. Basically what it says, this is not an automatic thing. You, the Board of Selectmen, need to determine that the illness involved is legitimate and that the request is a legitimate request. And that's what it's basically saying. That you will consider the request for additional sick leave and vote in your discretion whether or not to grant such paid time.
So that
It's
would-
not an additional amount or anything like that.
Beyond the
Just-
60.
That's the 60 days.
That's just the 60
Right.
days, yeah.
Okay, I just,
So the mechanics are still the same.
That's correct. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's not an automatic, but it's,
It's based on
Okay,
circumstance.
yeah.
Each situation will be dealt with individually by this board.
Okay. Still a motion on the table. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
aye.
Aye, unanimous. Thank you, Mitch.
Thank you.
Consider and take possible action on assignment for the Benton Knolls subdivision road construction bond. We have anybody who's going to address that?
we let Jim get out of here.
Yes?
Supposed to address it?
Okay. I'm going to entertain a motion to table.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Discuss and take possible action to set a public hearing date of July 7, 2014, 8:30 a.m. at the Green Community Center to receive public comment on an ordinance to amend the code of the Town of Guilford, Chapter 9, Boards and Commissions and Committees. Now you're up. Pam Millman is our in-house counsel. Pam?
The purpose of this chapter is, it really, the last time it was amended was 1994. And what it really is a compilation of kind of the list, a synopsis of the existing boards, commissions, and committees that are in effect. And only those that were formed by the Board of Selectmen or by town meeting, not by other commissions who might have created subcommittees. What prompted the initial change was that we wanted, the only exception to that is the new provision within it of the Guilford Green Committee, because there's been no existing ordinance that addressed this committee that's been operating for many years, since 1982, when it was reactivated by the Board of Selectmen. But all of the other listed references in here are, almost without exception, they all have a separate chapter within our ordinance book that deals in much more detail with whatever commission or committee or board that it's talking about. So this really is just a synopsis, a very short synopsis of what is in much more detail throughout our code book, which is available online, and you can check the references. So when, in making the change or the inclusion of the Guilford Green Committee, it seemed to make sense because there were a lot of outdated aspects to the existing list. There were several commissions that have since been formed since 1994, like the Agricultural Commission,
Public Works?
Public
the
Works is
Hazard
one, yeah.
Mitigation Commission, the Land Acquisition Commission. These were all the Public Works Commission, the Scenic Roads Advisory Committee, the Standing Building Committee, the Standing Fields Committee, and Youth and Family Services Board. Those were all formed subsequent to the 1994 version of this synopsis. And each of those has its own, with the exception of Standing Building Committee and Standing Fields Committee, and Scenic Roads Advisory Committee, each of those has a much more elaborate provision already in the ordinance, in the various code sections. The other thing that became apparent is that several of the commissions and boards that are formed for the town, several of them have been dictated by statute. You know, a statute has provisions within it that says, well, you have to have this kind of representation, you have to have this many alternates. So those statute references, and that kind of got lost, not that we have been following everything correctly. It's just that there was no cross-reference to that statute, so that it's kind of a roadmap for successors to the board, to the secretaries in the first selectman's office, about why things are the way they are. It wasn't that the board voted on it, it was that the statute required it, and we just adopted, and the board adopted it, or the town meeting adopted it, or the, so that's, a lot of the changes you'll see now provides kind of the roadmap and gives the, appropriate statutory reference, so you can and in some cases it also gives you guidance as to why it was formed, because sometimes these things were formed 20 years ago in order to get a grant, and kind of the purpose of the, whatever it is, the board, the committee, gets lost as to, well, why did we have that? Well, you look at the statute and you realize, okay, that's why we had it. We had it because they were, the state was trying to funnel some grants through a body. So that's, I just wanted to give a general synopsis, and what the board is considering today is simply to set a town, per our ordinance procedures in our charter, the board is to set a a public hearing for discussion and consideration. So that's the only purpose of today, is for them just to set a public hearing date and time. And then at that time, discussion will be had, and changes could be made or not. And if no changes, then the board, subsequent to the public hearing, votes to approve the ordinance. And then there, according to our charter, there's a time period of notice which has to expire before the ordinance takes effect.
So, I have to say I got 28 emails, which I called Joe earlier today. Some of them were still coming in this morning. So to anybody in this audience who may have sent me email, thank you very much. I appreciate hearing from the public, number one. Number two, I will get back to all of you with, if you don't already have it, I'll give it to you anyway, what the proposed recommendation is. So under the planning and zoning issue, when I read the language originally, what it's saying here for this one in particular is it's looking at adding Connecticut General Statute Section 8-1, which cross-references what you're saying to the state.
Exactly.
So there's no changes to the commission or how the makeup of it's set up or who the chairman shall be or anything of that nature. So it still works as
Correct.
it currently does. The other question I have is, you and I have talked about this recently, an issue that came up with the definition of committee and commission members.
Right.
And we just got this, so I didn't think about addressing it. I would have addressed it ahead of time with you, but I'd like some consideration. So I've had several, Joe, I spoke to you about this recently as well, some folks that are residents, meaning they pay taxes, they own property, but they're not registered voters. In this one particular instance, the gentleman is not a resident of Connecticut, another one's not a resident of the country, but they own property in town. But under our current, I'm just throwing this out there as a thought process, and we have a hard time, as Gary says, getting people to serve on commissions and boards. But again, I emphasize they're taxpayers. But they cannot serve by virtue of the fact that they're not registered voters. So
Right.
I don't know if this is something the board would at least like to entertain, at least at a minimum, letting them serve on committees.
That that point is actually dealt with broadly in our charter.
Okay.
So in order to address any concerns on that, with respect to that, you can have a charter.
So charter change.
You have to
Okay.
form a charter commission, and you have to follow this whole statutory process. And, generally, our town has done it, and sometimes, I think generally maybe like every 8 years or every 10 years. There's been exceptions, of course, to that time frame. And usually what the Board of Selectmen does is consider a group. You start getting a list of things you want to change.
Yeah.
When that list gets to be a certain size, then that might prompt the notion of considering a charter commission and charter change.
Okay, I just throw it out there
Yeah,
because
no,
of
that's
that.
good.
And-
And the other thing, just to point out to the residents, that the changes, the draft ordinance is on the website and is in the town clerk's office. So,
Well, the other thing I was going to suggest is that when we set the public hearing, that we do so in the evening to allow people to attend, as during the day, it is difficult for people to get here, even myself today, to say, coming from court. But, so I would suggest that, and then it gives people time to review and then come to the hearing. And I'll make a motion that I don't know if we want to set the date and time now at this point, or how we want to.
Oh, we could?
See,
I
okay.
mean, I have no problem with that.
Then, I can make a motion, we set it for July 7th, but do it in the evening at 7 or 7:30, pending
What day of the week
availability
is
of a
that?
room. I don't know how.
What day of the week is this?
July 7th is a Monday.
I can't make that.
Okay.
I could make a morning, but I can't, if you're making it at night, I cannot make it.
I don't.
Karen, what is the availability in this building? Until, by the way, until that lift is fixed outside the selectman's office, all our public meetings are going to have to be held in this building or some other building.
that's ADA.
Yeah, but we can't hold it in a general meeting room on the second floor. We can hold it in the little room, but it wouldn't accommodate all these people. And if they wish to attend, we want to accommodate them. So I've asked Karen to check out the availability in this building.
When I spoke to Bonnie earlier today, they had July 7th at 7:30 PM, July 9th at 7:30 PM, and as of earlier today, July 10th was pretty open as far as time.
10th is what day?
Thursday.
Thursday?
No problem, I just can't do Monday.
Okay, Monday, okay. Monday's usually a bad day, anyway.
I have no problem at 9 or 10, Charlie.
9 or 10 in the morning?
No, at night.
On which day? Which day?
July 9th or 10th.
Yeah, all those days are fine.
Okay. Carl?
I don't have any problem.
Okay,
Whatever you want to do.
make your motion.
Well, do it in the evening. if
So I'll
everybody
move
rather
that
have
we
the
set
evening.
it for July 9th, which is a Wednesday evening
That's
at
fine.
7:30?
7:30.
7:30 here in the community center.
Would somebody like to second that, please?
Second.
Okay.
Discussion.
Discussion, please?
Not of that, but
Okay.
I would just comment that, and I understand the hearing is primarily the time, but I'll take my selectman's privilege to make a comment today. Harbor management has been redone to consist of members at large and 2 alternate members, and I know there's been some issues with some of their, with getting participation from some of the commissions and boards that were originally supposed to be on, but I think that Marina Commission and Shellfish Commission should definitely be a part of that.
Of
So
what, Karen?
Of harbor management.
And I just, after you and I spoke earlier, I double checked, in last year, we changed the ordinance for harbor management, with a whole slew of changes to update it and to clarify it. There was a lot of, need a lot of clarification, a lot of updating. And in that ordinance, it doesn't require those representations. So if that is a strong desire or whatever, we would also then have to amend. And, that's fine. I mean, you can.
To the best of my recollection, there's always been participation by those 2 commissions,
Right.
and they're intertwined in their goals and their objectives.
No, it makes, I
There was a
understand the
reason
logic.
that they were there. I guess I
Right.
didn't focus on the fact that had changed.
And it actually, it's interesting, and that's another reason why I think this is actually beneficial. As we know, internally, we have a kind of list of boards that Tracy sets up, and, some of that needed to be corrected. We don't even know the genesis of some of the notes on that list. And that list had that requirement, but both the old ordinance and the new ordinance never had that requirement. So it's just an interesting, it kind of morphed internally in a list that's not official.
Right.
And wasn't in any of the official ordinances. But that's something for the board to consider when we consider at the hearing.
Yes. Motion on the table, any further discussion? All right, just to remind everybody, the motion is to set a public hearing date for July 9th, 7:30 PM in the community center in regard to revisions to Chapter 9 boards and commissions. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you. Karen is going to prepare a new notice, so please stop by the Selectman's office to sign it. Okay. Motion's made, passed, okay. Thank you. Thank you, Pam. And thanks for revisiting all that, and caused all these problems. Consider and take possible action to set another public hearing date of June 30th, 2014. This is 8:30 a.m. To receive public comment on additional application for the 2014 Neighborhood Assistance Act program. Doing this is one organization that missed the filing for the application. The public hearing we had last week, the Shoreline Alliance for the Arts. It'll be a real quick public hearing, but we have to do this. They have up until July 1st, and I chose to accommodate them. So I would indulge you to set that public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you.
Aye. Although I
Okay.
won't be there.
That's all right, we have a quorum.
As long as you have a quorum.
We have a
I
quorum.
just-
Okay.
That's the only thing on the
Yep.
agenda.
I just want you to know I will be in Boston returning the documents.
We'll let you do that, okay?
So you guys all have to show
Not that I
up.
want.
Joe, is there anything else? That's the only thing on the
Yeah,
agenda.
that's the only thing we
Okay,
need,
no, I'll be
okay.
there, 'cause I gotta be in court.
Okay. All right. Discuss and take possible action on revised use of the green requested by Parks and Recreation for the community picnic taking place July 12, 2014, to expand the events as well as the timing of the event. Everybody get it? Okay.
Yeah, so, yeah.
Made and seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Number 11, consider and take possible action on the revised water main easement agreement. Executive session may be required. And number 12, discuss and take possible action on sick leave donation for a public works employee. Executive session will be required. And 13, consider and take possible action on an agreement between the Town of Guilford and the Guilford Supervisors Association. Executive session will be required. Since these are three items that will require executive session, I am going to ask that we have one vote to go into executive session. And for these items, I'm going to ask for the participation and invitation of the health director, our in-house counsel, and our, where's Sheila? She left?
She's coming back.
She's come back. Our finance director and our human resources director. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We'll be coming back for a vote, okay? Thank you all. All right, we're back from executive session. I'm going to need a vote to officially come out of executive session.
So
please.
moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Okay. Item 11, consider and take possible action on a revised water main easement agreement. It was decided that we need more work on that, so there is no action to be taken. Item 12, discuss and take possible action on a sick leave donation for a public works employee. I need a vote, please.
Sure, I'll move that we approve the requested donation time through June 30th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. Item 13, consider and take possible action on an agreement between the Town of Guilford and the Guilford Supervisory Association.
I would move that we approve the contract as presented.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. All those in favor?
Want to show the
Yeah.
dates?
Yes, please.
July 1, 2014 to June 30, 2017. As part of the motion.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for
And
that.
I just wanted to commend our employees for working with Mitch and Selectman Haverter for his work on the contract.
Very good. And I want to, thank our two negotiators who negotiated on behalf of the town. Very good. Is a motion made and seconded? All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Any further action to come before the board?
Move
We
adjourn.
adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Karen, here you go. You have another one for us?